Labor MP Gordon Reid. Thanks so much for your time, both of you. I want to start on the Sydney protest. Kenny Heatley is our man inside the court there. Dai Le, he says that the court has decided to prohibit these protests. What's your reaction?
Look, I was surprised, actually. I mean, from my perspective, we live in a free democratic society, and that's one of the freedom to be able to protest peacefully and respectfully, of course. Of course, this is a judge making that decision, and of course that's the judge's decision in terms of probably his determinations around the safety of our community. Yeah, it was quite surprising because we've had they've had the walk across the bridge before. So what's the difference between that and the planned protest? I don't know.
Gordon, your view?
Well, look, I'll pick up on a few of Dai's points there. Obviously, this is an independent judiciary and the court and legal system making this decision. I know that prior to this decision being handed down, that the New South Wales Police did raise a number of concerns with regards to what this protest would look like in the place it was going to take place. So they raised concerns about the forecourt of the Sydney Opera House being quite a narrow forecourt. It only has capacity for around, I think, 6,000 people, I think it was. So it's quite a tight area. There was also no significant amounts of egress and ingress points, so that if there was an issue that people could get in or get out quickly. I know that the New South Wales Police have raised that on numerous occasions. But look, at the end of the day, this is a decision that's been made by an independent court. Obviously, we'll wait for the formal remarks to be released, but I know that's been raised. Yeah,
look, this came through to me just before I spoke to you, so I wasn't meaning to surprise you at all. But Gordon, you spoke to the mechanics of it, absolutely, and, the safety concerns. But what about the optics and what this would do to social cohesion, if I can put it that way, at a time where I've just reported that Hamas has signed this deal? That's the news we're getting out of the Middle East. It would happen at a time where the Jewish community in Australia is really hurting because they're marking 2 years since October 7. And it would seem that, it's a weird time to protest when you've got such momentum in the Middle East.
Yeah, look, you're right. And, obviously we live in a free, open and democratic society. There is freedom of speech. There is right to assembly and right to have your say. But look, in this occasion with the protest at the Sydney Opera House, it has been, from what you're telling me with your breaking news, it has been prohibited by an independent judge. Making this determination with a Chief Justice. So I think that's important to note. Social cohesion is absolutely paramount in Australia at this time, but also too, as is the safety and security of Australians, whether it's not just in Sydney, but right across our country on the Central Coast in Western Sydney. I think it's really important that we take that into consideration, and those were the comments that were made by the New South Wales Police. And more to your comments there, we have just seen the 2-year mark since those deadly attacks in Israel. Over 1,200 Israelis who were murdered, which was the largest loss of life since the Holocaust, and that's not good enough. I think that's absolutely abhorrent. That's absolutely terrible, and social cohesion in Australia is important, and that's why the government is focused on making sure that we stamp out anti-Semitism by making doxing illegal, by making sure we prohibit Nazi symbols and Nazi salutes, making sure that we fund the safety and security of people of Jewish faith in Australia, so that people can live freely and express their faith in a manner that they wish to do. That's all we want at the end of the day, is to be able to live how we want, to say what we feel, and also to pray how we want here in Australia. That's what I believe. Yep,
well said, Gordon. Dai, I wanted to talk to you about what has been, well, the ISIS bride issue. This has been a really big part of Senate estimates. This is when all members of Parliament get to question departments and ministers in charge. What is your concern about what information we don't have about the returning ISIS brides?
Look, I asked the question in Parliament yesterday Laura. As you know, my community of Fowler, the most multicultural in the country, has a large population of people of Assyrian background, Chaldean, Mandaean, Hasidi's, and you know, they are very concerned and literally petrified of the news that the ISIS affiliated groups are being returned to Australia. And I've said this before, that we have not been in these people's shoes. They have fled the ISIS regime, and therefore they have genuine fear. We live in a Western society. We have not been exposed to the fear that these families and these new Australian citizens now live in my electorate have encountered. So I was asking from the perspective of what assurance will the government give me that they will not be resettled in my community in Fowler, whereby there's, like I said, a large population there. And so I understand, our security has heightened, and our departments are doing their best that they can to ensure that these affiliated ISIS groups will be brought back, and hopefully something will be done around them being brought back to Australia, because we need to consider the safety concerns of our community.
Yes.
So Dai, there's no guarantee.
No, there are no guarantees. But as a local member representing tens of thousands of your constituents, are you asking just to know whether this monitoring is going on in the electorate of Fowler? Should you know where these ISIS brides are being resettled or returning and
yes,
monitored?
I want to be assured. I want to be assured that they're monitored. I want to be assured that they will be held accountable, because, I know people, it becomes very emotional, and we have to be compassionate, absolutely, but these families chose to go and accompany their husbands, my understanding, to fight, during the ISIS, the whole crisis over there. And so we need to be assured that when they come back, they have not been indoctrinated. If you ask my community of the Assyrians, the Chaldeans, and those who've been impacted, even the minority Muslims in our community, they would argue differently, that once you have been exposed to the ISIS dogma, you can't, it'll always be there. So therefore, we Australians will think it's okay to rehabilitate them. How do we, how are we so sure that's going to be?
Yeah, Gordon.
And the road to hell is always paved with good intentions.
Sorry, can I just make a comment there?
Oh, please, yes, please do. And I just wanted to, with your comments as well, Gordon, before you do, please do. But can you also respond to whether some of Dai's requests there are pretty reasonable in your view?
Well, look, I was going to go to what Dai actually asked in question time yesterday with regards to those people over in the Middle East, and Dai was using the phrase settled back in Australia, and I think Tony Burke gave quite a very clear and concise answer with regards to that, and that is that the government is not resettling these people back in Australia, and there's no repatriations. That's been made clear by both the Minister for Home Affairs and also to the Prime Minister, I might add. And can I just say that I have absolute faith in our national intelligence community. I have absolute faith in our law enforcement community,
but what does that mean?
In order to keep our Australian community safe.
Sure, I get that, but we seem to be speaking in code here. So if it's not resettlement or repatriation, what are we doing? And aren't Dai's requests on behalf of her community reasonable? Hang on, just let me get to Gordon, and then Dai will come back to you.
Well, look, Dai's entitled to ask the questions that she asks, whether it be here or in the time during question time, and she was able to ask those questions of the Home Affairs Minister, and he gave a very, very comprehensive answer with regards to this. These people have made a terrible decision in order to support this absolutely horrific terrorist organisation. But we are not resettling or repatriating these people. If they find themselves coming back here on their own volition, I have absolute faith that the national intelligence community, the law enforcement agencies, our intelligence and security agencies will keep Australians safe.
I have absolute faith in our intelligence community as well, and I do not doubt their professionalism, their execution in terms of what they are doing to ensure that we're protected. But I think we don't know a person really. We really are not very... we are relying on that they will not, in the future, do anything, and that they have completely been rehabilitated. Now, going to Gordon's point about no settlement of this group here in Australia. Now, the question was put to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister gave it to the Home Affairs Minister to answer my question. There was... Now,
appropriately.
The Home Affairs Minister, his role is to ensure that, especially in high security, high sensitive cases like these, he has visibility of who's coming and going. He has visibility. So I think it's splitting here about, there's no resettlement or no assistance. I mean, they're travelling in...
But I think in this regard, words are important. Words are very important when we talk about
exactly
resettlement,
right,
when we talk about
but there seems to be a level of
versus
obfuscation here, Gordon. Do you accept that? So when you...
No,
I mean,
I don't.
Well,
I
OK,
don't
there's
agree with that,
very careful language, not wanting to give detail, things, well, it's, operational security, all that kind of thing. It doesn't instill faith in the community, and I think it raises a level of anxiety.
No, look, I think, and I keep reiterating the same line that I have faith in our intelligence agencies because I do, because the work that they do keeps Australians safe. Words are important. We are members of Parliament. We are senators in the Australian Parliament. Words are important. And the words that were used by Tony Burke, who was also mentioning phrases used by the Prime Minister of Australia, are satisfactory to answer Dai Le's question at the time. But the people of Fowler, the people of Robertson, the people right across Australia should have faith that the National Intelligence Community, the Australian Federal Police, Border Force, all of those agencies are working night and day to keep Australians safe.
Look, the repatriation... Anyway, I don't know if we have enough time for this, Laura, but I respect, obviously, Gordon's views in terms of the repatriation, but absolutely there's no repatriation, but, who's responsible, checking them to come back to Australia.
It is a good point. Sorry to wrap you up there, Dai. We've got breaking news out of Sydney. Dai, Gordon, always a pleasure. We'll see you soon.